Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2 FY21 earnings conference call of Alkyl Amines Chemical Limited, hosted by HDFC Securities. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Nilesh Gupte from HDFC Securities. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Rituja. Good evening all. On behalf of HDFC Securities, I welcome everyone to Alkyl Amines conference call to discuss the results for the quarter ended September 2020. It is a pleasure of having with us top management team from Alkyl Amines, represented by Mr. Yogesh Kothari, Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Kirat Patel, Executive Director, Mr. Chintamani Satte, General Manager Legal and Company Secretary, Mr. K.P. Rajgopalan, Corporate Advisor, and without further ado, I will now hand over the floor to the management for making the opening comments. Over to you, sir.
Conference are Kirat Patel, Mr. Chintamani, and Mr. Rajgopalan. I welcome you all. I hope things are okay from the health point of view. As company, Alkyl Amines has been doing quite well, and even though COVID-related issues came up in the month of April, we were able to sort of take proper care. We had various protocols which sort of helped us in going through the whole process. Still, we are going through the same process, having the proper protocol, because the COVID has not gone away. So, as far as we are concerned, since we are taking a lot of care, the operations are are normal. Fortunately, the marketing is also quite normal, and we hope it continues, and we hope that the COVID issue ends soon. What I would do now is maybe give it to Mr. Kirat Patel. He can explain our performance of this year, and then later on we can go for a question-answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh Bhai. I will just briefly go through the numbers which you probably are already aware of, as you must have seen them, which were declared yesterday. The half year ending September 30th, we have been able to do quite well compared to the similar half year period last year. In spite of the fact that the first quarter of this half year was a bit of a disappointment because of the April COVID situation, where we were not able to run our plants and keep the supply chain going full steam. However, the second half we have been able to catch up with our lost opportunities, and we are doing at an optimum level now. Fortunately, the demand, and most of our demand is from the pharma sector, has been quite good, and even the other industrial applications are soon catching up, whether it is in automobile or in rubber chemicals or the lab chemicals or oil and gas. It's slowly improving. So we look forward to second half, which would be, we hope, in terms of volumes and values, at least back to normal. as you can see from the numbers, our profitability has been fairly good, and mainly on the basis of benign raw material prices and a little tightening of the market of end supply. So our finished good prices have also been fairly good from our point of view. So given that, and yes, because of the COVID situation, there has been some degree of delay in the first quarter for our projects, but in the second quarter, we have been able to get all our projects back online with manpower and suppliers workshops opening up steadily. So we hope to commission most of the projects with just a couple of months delay here and there. I think that is about a summary of the half year. Maybe now we can throw it open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Jason Jones from Monarch Net Worth. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for this question. My question is, just wanted an update on the capex of both the plants, which is your acetonitrile plant as well as the amine derivatives plant. Just wanted an update on that, and you're going to be commissioned. And also, just wanted to know, in terms of this entire capex, how much of this capex will yield new value-added products, and what will be its application? Just some color on this. Is it going to be applicable in pharma only, or is it going to have some other applications in other areas?
Yeah, I think our capex from the acetonitrile plant is coming up in the age, the new plant. I think it should come up by the third quarter of 2021, and the other derivative plants, some of them have already been commissioned, and the capex for the acetonitrile plant is around 170 to 180 crores. What was the other question?
I wanted to know this capex. How much of this capex will yield new value-added products?
Well,
I'm talking about the amine derivatives plant, basically. The entire capex, basically, how much of this will yield new value-added products?
Yeah. Kirat?
Yeah. Both these capexes for the derivatives plant, the 3 capexes which we have, are all in existing products at the moment. And when I have not understood what you mean by value added, but in the sense that if you mean that there are a derivative of the amines, yes, there are derivatives of methyl and isopropylamines. Okay, they have both been commissioned. All 3 plants have been commissioned. A little bit of debottlenecking is going on in the methylamine derivative plant, which will be commissioned by the end of this month.
Okay. And my next question is, just wanted to know how much of acetonitrile as a percentage of revenue, how much does acetonitrile contribute? And any view, understand that acetonitrile prices are currently elevated due to shortage globally. So just wanted your view on the sustainability of these prices.
I think what we don't give much information on acetonitrile. We are currently going through a phase which is helpful to us. There are one of the larger plants is closed internationally, and the demand for acetonitrile has been quite steady. So that's why we are able to sell, and there is a market which we are not able to cater because of our own capacity being restricted. So now, with the new plant which will come up in next year, we would be able to fulfill that type of demand. We are not giving much details on acetonitrile because it's something which we would rather keep it to ourselves.
Okay, sir. And my last question is, just wanted to understand, I mean, this the government coming up with this new PLI benefits. How do you see it benefiting Alkyl Amines as a company?
It will help us because some of the new players will come up taking advantage of this PLI. Some new users of our amines and users as a manufacturer ourselves directly we may not get much advantage. But there would be new companies coming up who will be putting up investments which would need some of our products. That's how it will help us.
Okay, thanks. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhruv from HDFC Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. So is it possible to share the volume value split for the quarter?
No, we don't give information on various products and their values individually.
Okay. So, I mean, in terms of percentage, so if your overall revenue is up 24%, how much of that will be for the quarter on a YY basis? So how much would that be volume?
Product-wise, we won't be able to give. Overall, various products or sort of specialty products, something like that, it can be given, you know. That Kirat may be able to.
No, okay. I will give you the overall value. Overall, we have almost caught up with last year's volume growth. Of course, the value growth is higher because the prices are this year higher than last year.
Okay.
So it's about 1% plus minus. Same as volume as value. But you must remember that that includes the first quarter, which was about 10% down.
Yeah. Okay, I was referring to 2Q.
Oh, 2Q, okay. Yeah. So that's about 20% up. Q2. H2 is about caught up with H2 of the previous year in volume terms.
Okay.
And values, so you have.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, sir, just to clarify again, you mentioned volume in 2Q is up 20% on a YY basis.
On Q2, yes.
Okay. So largely the growth in revenue is driven by volumes and it is not much of value. I mean, pricing is not the key factor, it is volume which is driving growth.
It is a bit of both.
Okay.
It's a bit of both because the first half was a little lower. So I think it's a bit of both volume and value. More volume than value at the moment.
Yeah, because if I do just the math, your revenues are up 24% and volume is 20%. So largely.
Yeah, so I give you a round number. It's about 18 or something.
Okay, got it. Yeah, majority.
And there is a product mix issue also in this.
Yeah.
So it's like to like becomes a little difficult to.
True. Got it. And sir, you mentioned that the finished good pricing is also relatively steady. So is it primarily driven by demand, which is very strong, or there are some supply chain bottlenecks also which are still continuing and you're benefiting from that?
No, I think it's the demand. Our view is that it's the demand because as Yogesh Bhai said, the PLI scheme and other initiatives of the government with whatever we are having troubles with China are probably playing a role in the pharma and the agro industry, all pushing more volumes. There's a lot of demand. Of course, the COVID situation and the health sector is pushing for a lot. And some of our products go into antivirals, which segment is at the moment going quite strong.
Okay. I was coming to that. So I just wanted to probably understand a bit more on the final end-use application in pharma. If you can share anything on that. I mean, where in pharma does the application happen for some of our major products and where demand is pretty strong? Just to have an independent assessment of where we can probably move for the next few years.
See, our products have various end-use applications. Many pharma end uses like anti-diabetes, like metformin, then drugs for blood pressure and all. Various applications are there relatively. we have practically most of the pharma companies in India would be our customers in small way or big way. So, because a large number of users which they are there. So, I mean, it's a very vast area.
To give you an example, we have more than 24 N molecules which use our amines. So, and as Yogesh Bhai mentioned, metformin, the antibiotics like ampicillin, amoxicillin, the blood pressure medicine, atenolol, all these are very important end users. And as I mentioned, antiviral. So it's a whole range from one end to the other. Almost 25, 30 end molecules which use our amines in the pharma sector alone.
Got it.
So all the therapeutic segments are covered.
Got it. My point also probably going a bit further here is that we have seen some strong demand growth over the last few quarters or probably a few years now. Part of this, I understand pharma is a big segment for us. Now, I mean, pharma has been doing quite well in India for quite some time. I was trying to understand what is driving the delta in growth. So, for example, how COVID is probably helping you in that growth. As you mentioned, antiviral as an application. So, is it something more that you can probably share here?
COVID has definitely helped to some extent, but not so much. Okay, few of the products are going into some of these drugs which are going for COVID-related sort of medicines. But I mean, we are not dependent so much on them, and but it has helped us definitely. And I think for the next few quarters, I don't think there will be any reduction in that.
Okay. Got it, sir. That's useful. I'll join back the queue. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amandeep Singh from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
So thanks for the opportunity. So firstly, on acetonitrile, can you help us with current realization for the product and with capacity expansion by competition and yourself? How do you expect the realization to move? Also, if you are hearing of any capacity addition in acetonitrile globally?
Let me tell you again that we don't give too much information on acetonitrile. But I know all the capacities and all have already been mentioned. What size plant we are putting up in Dahej, what capacity we have today has already been mentioned. And to the best of our knowledge, Alkyl Amines is one company which is putting up. They already started manufacturing acetonitrile, but their capacity is quite low compared to ours. And Deepak Nitride, of course, they have a company which also makes acetonitrile. So these three companies together will make acetonitrile. Anybody can put up acetonitrile plant. It's not that difficult. But people just don't do it because in the end, the type of product, the quality of the product is very important, which we have been able to achieve after so many years of trial and errors. So it's not it's easy, but not that easy. Let me put it this way.
Sure, sir, that's helpful. And sir, competition also adding 40 to 50,000 tons capacity for methylamines along with your Dahej expansion. Can you help us understand how demand supply situation pan out and also consequently impact on realization?
Well, methylamine, we ourselves are short of methylamines for some of our end users. So we ourselves consume a lot of it internally. Some of these products being exported also. And the good part of methylamines is that many small scale producers also would have been putting up plants which would be needing methylamines in small capacity. But till, in the last few years, the availability was always an issue. And methylamine is one product which is not so easily importable, So availability itself will drive growth for products based on methylamines. The capacities for methylamines will go on. I mean, the new capacity will go on coming, but in a year's time, 2 years' time, they get absorbed. Our own capacity, we're expanding it, which will be coming on stream any time now. From our existing plant in Dahej, we are expanding it by 50%. And our own Patalganga plant also, we use it when we need to use it. So that way we are quite comfortable.
So, sir, that was really helpful. And also regarding ethylamine, so even your competitor's plant is expected to commence in 4Q FY21 onwards. So can you understand how would be the demand supply situation for ethylamines?
The same situation is happening in ethylamines also, because we have a very large plant. We are in the process of designing a new plant also, which will take maybe another year and a half before it is put on stream. But we will also be putting up a new plant. Our existing plant in Kurkum, plus we have plant in Patalganga, which we make ethylamines also. So we are very comfortable from point of view of availability, because we also consume a lot of it internally. So from both point of view, we need ethylamines to grow also.
Sure, sir, that was really helpful. And so what's your outlook on ethylene amines market? Do you intend to get into this segment in near future after your competitor entering this segment through subsidiary? Or do you feel that current capacity is more than sufficient to meet the demand for these products, including piperazine?
No, we were already in through our associate company, Diamines, earlier. We got out of it last year. But we were making piperazine and some of the ethylamines, ethylene diamines and other things. But then we decided to get out of it because there are very large players internationally. And the Indian market itself in some products is good, but this can be easily importable also. So we, as a principle, I mean, as a we didn't think it would be good. It won't fit into our sort of scheme of things.
Sure, sir, got it. And so finally, will it be possible to give some sense on the trends here on, along with your outlook on volume growth and long-term sustainable margins?
For what?
For overall company. Overall.
Yes, we have been showing good growth in the last few years, and I'm sure we will continue doing it for the next few years.
Sure, sir. That's really helpful. Thank you and all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shanti Patel from Shanti Patel Investment. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is, when all these projects are completed, what will be our expected turnover approximately, and what will be our market share in India, and what will be our PAT margin? All these are approximate figures.
Yeah. So, if all these projects, the ones which are mentioned by earlier in acetonitrile and just now what Yogesh mentioned about the ethylamines, if they are all commissioned and used to their full capacity, we could add, at today's prices, we could add something like 1,000 crores more to our turnover. But obviously, this is not going to happen overnight. It is going to take time, 3 to 4 years as we ramp up production. So an expectation of reaching from what we are near about 1,000 crores, 1,100 crores to 2,000 crores in 3 to 4 years is a good optimistic estimate, I would say. We have been growing at, as Yogesh said, regularly in the past 5-10 years and to the extent of 10-15%. And we don't see any reason why that should not hold for the future. So that is as far as the top line is concerned. As far as margins are concerned, it's a much more difficult thing to predict. Yes, we have been steadily improving our margins as we go along, partially through cost control, partially through benefit of raw materials, and of course volumes help. So I think the comment on the margins would be a little more difficult to make, but we are optimistic that we'll be able to retain these margins as we go forward, or at least go in somewhere near.
And sir, what will be our market share in respect of various products at that time?
Yeah, so what happens is it varies. For example, methylamine, with our commissioning of the expansion right now, in fact, in November, we have increased our capacity by 50%. As earlier announced, it was supposed to happen in September, but because of this COVID situation, it has got delayed by a month and a half. So we are now maybe about 50% of the market share of methylamines, while in ethylamines we may be a dominant player covering 70% or so, 70-80% of the market share. Some other products we may be again 50%. So it varies. But there are a few products where we are, for example, acetonitrile, we may be about 40% of the domestic market. So it varies, but I would say on an average, you would look at about 50% of the market would be ours. If you look at a basket, of course, between Balaji and us, we do not have the same portfolio. We make some products which we don't make. We make some products which he doesn't make. So it's not a like-to-like kind of situation. And there are some products which we are almost 100% market share, because we are the only people making it. Isopropyl, ethyl hexyl, these products and some derivatives, which we are the only people in the country making it. So it varies.
Okay. What about the
overall, you can say, yes, as a thumb rule, you can say about 50-60% of the market share is ours.
Sorry. That is a dominating position. And secondly, what about our debt situation will be?
Our debt today is about 60 crores, which is basically ECB. 30 crores is due this year for repayment and 30 crores next year. We are already cash positive, as you can see from our cash equivalent balance in the balance sheet, and we are net debt positive.
So effectively, after 2 years, probably it will become zero.
It is already zero.
Correct.
Because the 60, and we have more than equivalent cash and cash equivalent.
Equivalent, right. That is correct. That's all, sir. Thank you very much for it. And secondly, only one request. This year we have not sent a physical copy of annual report. My request is please send next year.
It depends on what the SEBI and stock exchange at this time had told companies not to do it because of the COVID situation. And of course, at that time the printers were also down. Nobody was printing also.
That I agree with you. But otherwise, I have received from some other companies.
Yeah.
So SEBI has given an option.
Next year we'll be back to normal. Hope the situation will improve, and we are all hoping that we go back to our normal ways of operating.
Correct. Yeah. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Umang Shah from AMSEC. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Sir, what would be the capacity utilization at various plants?
These are some questions. I would say average around 70 to 80%.
Sir, and any product in which we are running out of capacity?
Well, some products we may be coming to 90% level, but it's not so bad.
Okay, sure, sir. And sir, I just wanted to ask this question on how do you figure out how much to forward integrate as regards your own products? Like your competitor took a decision of going into DMF from DMA HCl, but you did not do that. So what was the rationale for that?
The DMF is made from carbon monoxide, which is made from, in India they are making it from coal, and then you are getting into an environment type of situation which Personally, I was not so very keen to go for that, So that's why we have kept away from. But it's a good product range. Lots of products based on carbon monoxide are possible. But that's about it here.
Yeah, this is very helpful, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ravish Dekhan from Muthoot Family Office. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. Just wanted some sort of, so on your presentation, you mentioned that you have, I think, around 100 plus products. So how many of these would be, in amine derivatives, and how many would be in specialty chemicals? And a slightly related question, so globally, how many different types of amines and derivatives manufactured, in terms of the number, and so do we manufacture in India as well?
Yeah. Okay, let me just go a little back. The first question is how many different types of amines are there? There are a huge number of amines, and they are largely classified into four categories. First one being, of course, what we are in, aliphatic amines, which is by the manner of alcohol plus ammonia making the aliphatic amine. Then there are the ethylene amines, which somebody mentioned earlier, which diamines and now Balaji Specialties is making, which is made from EDC and ammonia. There are ranges in each of these. Like in aliphatic amine, there is methyl, ethyl, isopropyl, butyl. Similarly, in ethylene amines, there is EDA, DETA, TETA, and so on. Then there is the third range, which is the alkanol amines, which is made from the ethylene oxide and ammonia, and propylene oxide and ammonia. So that's another range. So these are the three broad major ranges of, and then there are what are called specialty amines. And then there are fatty amines, which is the fifth range. So there's a whole range of amines. Now, if you talk about the derivatives are in probably thousands, because the end use of these amines, for every different end use, for example, aliphatic amines itself must be having at least 200 to 250 end uses. And in India, we have not exploited all of them because it's not possible for so many plants to come up.
So is it a complexity issue, or it's a demand issue that we don't have all of them in India?
I think it's demand, mainly demand.
If there's small demand, then it's better to import the material.
Okay. And in terms of complexity, so which sort of group or subgroup of amines would be the most complicated in terms of manufacturing?
That is a difficult question to answer.
I don't know, Yogesh. I think it would be the aliphatic amines would be the more difficult.
No.
But you say really, you can't say.
Then it is the volumes and what type of margins are there and all. Okay. Next, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I had one question, sir, on the. If I just look at your sort of.
May we request you to please join the queue again, as there are participants waiting for their turn.
Okay.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nirav Jimodia from Anvil Research. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, sir, I have one question and a follow-up question to that. So, the question is related to the opening remarks, which you mentioned that we have already debottlenecked our methylamines capacity. So, what I want to understand from you is whenever we do the debottlenecking exercises, probably at a capex lower than our initial capex, because we already have the first phase of capex already incurred. So, with this sort of debottlenecking, does process innovation through our R&D also helps us in terms of reducing our per ton consumption of finished goods, or let's say per ton consumption of power cost, etc.?
Yeah, that is exactly what we do in our R&D. We have a separate division for process control,
Okay.
Which is just doing that day and night, Wherever there is a possibility of saving either the raw materials or the energy, this group's main aim is to bring it down. And then we take the advice of our senior people who have already worked in the plant or have a lot of experience in chemical engineering, and we try to come up with a better solutions. So over a period of time, this has really helped us, and brought down our costs. That's why we are so competitive also on the international level, you know, because our plants are as competitive as anywhere in the world. You know.
Correct. So, sir, is it safe to assume that for the expansion what we have undertaken, there also all those cost savings would be permanent to us and probably would help us in further aiding the margin, so far as the product categories are concerned?
Yeah, of course. Methylamine, overall now, since we'll be producing more from practically the same plant with additional only some equipment, there will be a lot of both, mainly from the point of view of energy. You know? So this is definitely going to bring down the cost to some extent. You know?
Correct. And sir, the second question is on the opening remarks, you also mentioned about one of the sectors which was not doing well, like rubber chemicals and foundries. So just wanted to understand, like, if we compare with respect to the pre-COVID levels, has the volume started to show a growth, or it is still catching up to the pre-COVID level?
No, it is slight improvement is taking place. When automobiles for the foundry chemicals, because they go for making in the automobile engines and other things, you know. So there is an improvement there.
Okay. Diwali wishes, sir, and all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Sinha from MK Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Thank you for taking my question. Just one question on in acetonitrile, as you mentioned that the demand is sustaining for some time. So obviously, pharma is one major growth driver for us. But which are the other sectors which are actually showing some traction, or where we are seeing some growth opportunities?
Only as far as acetonitrile is concerned?
Yeah, for acetonitrile.
Generally, we are not finding much of any traction just now. No? There is
So it is only from the pharma side, or in general?
Yeah, all the areas are doing well. You know?
Okay. So I mean, it's demand across your exposed industries, right?
Yes, across all segments.
Yeah. Okay. And secondly, in methyl and methylamine, how is basically consumption growth broadly shaping? I mean, at what regular interval we will see a regular addition of capacities in both the segments?
See, what is happening is especially in ethylamines, a lot of imports are coming into India from Europe and China. You know? And that shows that there is definitely a demand which is there in India, maybe because of the price or because of not availability of the product at the right time. You know? So as it is, we are also putting up a new plant shortly. Balaji Amine also is putting up a plant shortly. So that will be taken care of. Only thing, we have to be very competitive. That's what we are doing now. And methylamines, of course, hardly any imports take place.
Okay. So broadly, I mean, within a 2-year time frame, we'll be at the optimum level for both these segments?
2 to 3 years, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. And lastly, sir, would it be possible to share revenue share in pharma, agro, and other segment, maybe for H1 or not for, if not for Q2?
No, I don't think we can share this information.
Okay. You can find that for an annual this thing on our website, and I think they will be updating it for the March 20 numbers. So, but it doesn't vary too much. It's about 50% pharma, about 10-15% agro, and the others are following 3 to 5%.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jason Jones from Monarch Network. Please go ahead.
So thanks for the follow-up. So you had mentioned that you're not entered a certain segment where earlier in the call as the competitive scenario is pretty high, and this chemistry is easily importable. I didn't catch the name of the segment. Could you please mention it again?
It was ethylene. I think the question was related to ethylene amines,
Right.
and the question was why we did not feel we were already in it, and why we got out of that business while Balaji made the decision of getting in.
Right. Okay. And, I earlier asked this, your capacity which is coming up, both the plants, amine derivatives and acetonitrile. I asked you how much percentage of this capex is new value add. What I meant is, you have your amines, which are your methylamines, ethylamines, that's your basic chemistry. What I meant is by value add is, you have... Hello? Yeah. So what I meant by that is, acetonitrile or aldega or morpholine. These are specialty chemicals, which are forward integrated and up, it's forward up the value chain. So just wanted to know in terms of contribution, what would the new capacity,
Okay. I think what you mean by value added is what we call derivatives.
Right. Yeah. So
okay.
The forward integrated products.
Yeah. So where we use the amine to add on another molecule and then add some value into the chain, right?
Right. That's what I meant. Yes.
Okay. So that as we have said earlier, our derivatives business is about 25 to 30%. About amines is about 50%, and specialty is about 25-30%. So it's in that range.
Okay, so it's in that range. Okay. And just one final thing, just wanted to understand, your gross margin expansion has been very healthy, and that's basically, if I compare H1, it's you've almost saved 10% on gross margins only, which has led to the 10% jump in EBITDA as well. So just wanted to know what is driving this gross margin expansion.
I think what has happened is also the raw material prices have been quite helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the products have given us better values. That's the reason.
Okay, sure. Thanks. That's all from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Karan Khanna from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity, and congratulations, sir, on a spectacular set of results. So my only question was pertaining to your long-term sustainable margins. So I think few quarters back in the earnings call, you mentioned that your sustainable margins are in the range of 18 to 21%. But clearly, I think if you look at the results over the last year and a half, your margins have been higher each quarter. So from that perspective, given the efficiencies and given the product portfolio and the capabilities that you've built, can you help us understand what possibly would be the sustainable margin once, say, the acetonitrile prices were to revert what they were in 90, and once these benign raw material prices were again start picking up, etc.?
Sorry, can you go through the question again?
No. Okay, I understood what Karan's question. Karan, I think as I said earlier to somebody else's question earlier, that our confidence level of volumes is much higher to the extent that we can say, yes, 10 to 15% growth rate is something we can easily expect, even higher if we can push further. It's the margins where we are very reluctant to comment on, because that depends on so many things, on the raw material prices, on how competition behaves, how the demand structure. So as you can see, we were wrong in predictions earlier, and we could be wrong predicting it forward. So I would be very reluctant to tell you, yes, we can sustain this margin. I would say I would be cautiously optimistic that we can sustain this, but it's a very tough call.
But just as a follow-up to this, if say the acetonitrile prices were to around 110 rupees, what they were in FY19, what could be the delta to your margins because of that? If you could help us understand that.
Sorry, you're saying that there was a time when the prices were about 110 rupees, about 2 years ago, I think 1.5 to 2 years ago. And now they are in the region of 250. So what is the question?
So if some enterprises were to revert to 100, 110 rupees, what impact could that have on your EBITDA margin going forward?
That depends on what happens to the raw material prices also, The raw material prices have also shifted around, So it's a bit tricky question. You can't answer it straightforward.
Sure. Fair enough, sir. All the best and happy Diwali to everyone.
Thank you. Happy Diwali to you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Akash Mangani from BOI XM Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening to the management. I too had a similar question as the earlier participant. I think you already answered that. So what remains is if you could talk about some margin band for each of your segments. I understand the toughest would be the specialty segment, which is acetonitrile, but for the other two, which is amines, 50% of the business, derivatives, 25%, could you give some range that you operate in and would more or less operate in the next 1 or 2 years?
This question, margins are not something which we have in hand, in the sense we can't control them. It is also depends on what rate the materials come into India also, because China, Europe and all. And then we have to compete at those prices. Otherwise the customers will not buy from us. So they go on varying all the time. But generally the margins would be, I think, anywhere from 15-20% in maybe more also in some cases.
This question earlier we had answered in one of the earlier calls that it's not the margin, and it varies quarter to quarter because of the product mix, and sometimes some products are doing better, sometimes some products are doing worse. So the numbers that Yogesh Bhai said about 20% and all are an average which comes out. So there could be products which are 15%, some which are 25%, some which are 40%. But the weighted average comes down to about 20%. But it may not even be the same product of the previous quarter. So there is no guarantee that the aliphatic amines will have a bigger margin than the derivatives or the other way around. It changes.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity and congrats on good set of numbers. So the first question is in terms of the raw material availability. So how it has been over the last few months in terms of the imported raw material, and what do we expect in the near future? Thank you.
I think availability is not going to be an issue for the time being. And prices may, there's likelihood of they're going up because of overall demands increasing in China and other places. But at the same time, then the price of the products also may go up.
Okay. So the second question is in terms of capex. I may have missed out in earlier call. So what is the capex for both these projects individually? You've already told that the peak potential would be close to about 1,000 crores. So just want to know what is the asset turnover for these two projects. Thank you.
There are two major projects which we have mentioned just now. One is the acetonitrile, which is under implementation, and the other is the aliphatic amines plant, which is under design. Both of these are in the region of 150 to 200 crores. So this year we are hoping to spend, because there are other smaller projects in derivatives and infrastructure and other things. So this year we will probably spend about 150 crores. Next year probably 200 crores. And the year after a little more. Of course, it's a bit difficult to say what we'll spend 2 years from now, but the immediate this year and the next year looks a little clearer.
Right. So the methyl and isopropylamine plant that is already been commissioned, and what would be the capex for that then?
The methylamine was a debottlenecking exercise, which was a very small capex. less than 10 crores. And that brought up the capacity from 30,000 to 45,000 tons per annum. Because we had already invested a lot of the capital expenditure when we commissioned the plant 2.5 years ago.
Right. And the one you said next year is currently at drawing board stage, 150 to 200 crore, the next expansion
Yes,
project.
that's on drawing board stage.
Okay. Thank you so much and best of luck and Diwali wishes.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhruv Muchal from HDFC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so a lot of questions are answered. So just one clarification. You mentioned that at the current run rate, your revenues could double. So you had about 1,000 crores. So about in FY20, so that's about 1,000 crores additional. But if I just do a blended, blended total of the capacity, total capacities that we would have, the methylamines expansion and the acetonitrile expansion, your total capacity would increase by about 48% or 50-odd%. But your revenues are doubling. So I was trying to understand what's driving this.
No, what I was telling you was that doubling was when everything reaches its peak capacity. And as we mentioned, our capacity today is also only 80-85% utilized.
Okay.
So when you look at everything going, and we will be investing in other debottlenecking exercises over the time. So, I mean, I would say that 3 to 4 years from now, if we are 2,000 crores, I would not be surprised.
Okay.
So the prices of the products are different,
Okay, I understand. Probably the mix is the thing. The mix
is the thing.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Got it. And so you mentioned about the capacity which is in the drawing board. Can you probably highlight where are we investing? Is it methyl, ethyl, or where are we adding capacity?
This will be ethyl amines.
Okay. Ethyl amines. And if you can highlight the capacity that we are adding?
Virat, what? At the moment, I think we are still working on that. But it will be certainly larger than the capacities which we have today, which are, as you know, about 25,000 tons per annum between the two plants.
Mm-hmm. And sorry if there's some announcement happening in our office, but sorry for that. So the expansion probably will happen in, say, the timeline should be about 2 years or 3 years. How would you look at the expansion?
Early 22-23.
Okay. You mean financial year, right?
FY22, say about 18 months from now. 18 to 20 months from now.
Okay. Perfect, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Verma from Fidelity. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. So just wanted to understand from a product portfolio perspective, so, which are the products where you have the market leadership or where you are the only sole producer?
Well, ethylamines, we are market leaders. Acetonitrile, we are market leaders. DMA, HCl also, we may be maybe number 1 or maybe 2. There are a few products which are derivatives. Mm-hmm. For example, diethyl hydroxylamine and all, which are we are among 2 or 3 players in the world, and nobody makes that in India. For example, isopropylamine, the only people who are making it. Mm-hmm. Ethyl hexylamine, we are the only people making it. So there are a number of products like that. Okay. Smaller one, of course. Some are big, like in acetonitrile, but where we are the market leader in ethylamine.
Okay. And so, what reasons do you see that your competition hasn't been able to? I mean, they have missed the bus in terms of putting up timely capacities in acetonitrile. So, I mean, you have taken the lead in that. And earlier you said that it's not that difficult for a player to set up an acetonitrile capacity. So, I mean, just want to understand that your perspective.
No, this is difficult to tell, because how can we know about their mindset? It is something which their mind they decided not to go for it.
We don't know what troubles they had here. very difficult.
No, it's not a question of trouble. It's a question of having the right idea.
Yeah. But yeah, it seems like they missed the bus completely. I mean, that's good. Yeah. So yeah, so that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ravi Shrikant from Muthoot Family Office. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity again, sir. So I just had one question on the sort of raw material imports, because when I sort of went through your annual reports, I think around 4 years back, the sort of raw material imports went up from, I think, 2030 to 180 to 100 crores. So, I mean, was there any change in the sourcing strategy because of which this went up?
Sorry, I didn't catch the question. What is the question again? Can you repeat?
Yes. In your annual reports, actually, you have given the sort of raw material imports every year. So this figure was around 20 to 30 crores till around FY16. But from FY17 onwards, this is around 80 to 100 crores. So,
okay. So this is basically alcohol, which earlier we used to buy locally, but since the government has been very aggressive about using it for fuel, it is more viable for us to import the ethyl alcohol rather than to buy it locally. So the imports of ethyl alcohol has gone up. But that is not to say that the other parts of our raw materials are not imported. They are not directly imported, like methanol, ammonia. There are consolidators who import these things in large quantities and then distribute it in India. Because India is short of all these products. Whether it's isopropanol, methanol, ammonia, even coal, we are importing it, but it's coming through distributors. So it doesn't show up on our balance sheet.
Okay, sir. And if I may just squeeze in one more question. So, of the total sort of global amines industry size that you had mentioned of around $4 billion, so that's roughly 30,000 crores. So only around 2,000-3,000 crores is, from what I gathered, in India. So I mean, so which all countries are the other big sort of producers of amines barring China? I mean, non-China, how much would be the component?
America and Europe are the big players. They were in fact the original big players. Then China and India have come in much later. China is much bigger now. Yeah, much bigger, of course.
Any percentage-wise numbers? I mean, how much would America and Europe be?
They go on changing all the time.
Okay.
But I think it would be right to say that they are not growing as fast as, say, India and China. That is expected because their GDP growth rates at the level of development they are is, lower than emerging markets.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vihang Subramaniam from Samsung Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks a lot for taking my question. Most have been answered. Just one thing, when I look at the business from FY19 to 21, is there any product other than acetonitrile where, realizations have changed in a dramatic way?
Sorry, come back.
Is there any product other than acetonitrile where realizations have moved meaningfully?
Let me put it this way, that we are on the lookout always for new products. There are some in the pipeline. So once they come out, we will let you know.
No. So I'm actually asking for the realizations of the products.
Existing products, we don't have anything like acetonitrile.
Okay, so all the other products, the price has broadly been the same, is it, over the last 2 years?
No.
More or less.
That's not what you guys might say.
The more or less they have been the same. There are a few products which have given us higher prices. These are specialty products. So the tonnages would be low. That's it.
Got it. And sir, in that other derivatives and other specialty chemicals which you make, in that, how has been the growth? Has it been north of say 25%?
Yeah, in some of them, yes.
Okay. And so just to probably, ask again on one of the questions which the previous participant had asked, if like say raw material prices and acetonitrile goes back to what it was in FY19, then would it be safe to say that you would be like in the 24 to 27% margins?
Well, no, less than that it would be. No?
No. He's talking about overall for the company.
Yeah, overall for the company.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe.
You can hazard a guess. I mean, it's a difficult thing to say.
Okay, sir. No worries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, that was the last question today. I would now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
So thank you, Nilesh and HDFC for giving us this opportunity to present our company in front of the investors. We have not been able to answer all the questions because some of them we did not want to answer, but thank you in any case. Okay.
Thank you.
And wish you all a happy Diwali. Stay safe, I think. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of HDFC Securities, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.